Hey everyone, it is Mr. Vargas here with a new blackout edition screen. Trying this out for the first time. We are working with Math 8 today, homework 3.4, page 203, with a particular focus on slope-intercept form. One of my favorite things in all of math to talk about. So let's get right into it. For question number 1, 2, and 3, we are asked to state the slope and the y-intercept for the graph of each equation. Okay, the good thing is we just have to locate information here. We don't actually have to do any graphing. But let's check out number 1. Number 1 has the equation y equals 3x plus 4. This one lines up really nicely. Going back to slope-intercept form, what we've been working on in class, we know that slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So here, my m is taking the place of a 3 here. Remember, m stands for slope. M equals slope. So here, all I would say that my slope is 3 in this equation. And then my plus b, so my b is my y-intercept. That's where I cross the y-axis. So for my answer, I can just write the slope is 3 and the y-intercept equals, this time it is just a positive 4. Easy peasy, that's all you got to do for number 1. Let's check out number 3 really quick because it's a little bit more tricky. Number 3 is 3x plus y equals negative 4. Let me get that a little bit clearer. Now some of you guys might be tempted to say that, 1 is the slope and negative 4 is the y-intercept, but we can't do that just yet because this equation right here is not in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form has to have y all by itself on the left-hand side, your slope, whatever that may be, your x variable attached to your slope, and then your y-intercept, your plus b or minus b, all the way to the right. So what we actually need to do is rearrange this equation, 3x plus y equals negative 4, rearrange it so that y is all by itself on the left-hand side. So let me rewrite that equation one more time. 3x plus y equals negative 4. And this is why we learned how to balance equations earlier this year. So I want y all by itself on the left-hand side. I'm going to make a mirror. Alrighty. And that is going to be really easy because what's bothering my y? This 3x over here is bothering it. So I'm just going to subtract 3x from this side. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. Now I cannot combine a regular number, negative 4, with a number that has a variable attached to it. These are not like terms, so we cannot combine them. Alright, let's bring down everything else. Y comes straight down, and then you have equals minus 4 minus 3x. Just rearrange this information on the right. Just switch the order a little bit so that it's in y equals mx plus b. Y equals negative 3x minus 4. Beautiful. Now we can actually tell what the slope is and what the y-intercept is. Yes, you guessed it. That's the slope, and that's, I'll do a different color. This is the y-intercept. So you would write slope equals negative 3, and the y-intercept equals negative 4. Nice work. Let's jump down to number 4. Number 4 now asks us to write an equation for a line when we are told the slope and the y-intercept. So this time they tell us the slope is negative 3/4, and they tell us the y-intercept, INT for short, is negative 2. So we just take this information and we write it in slope-intercept form. Remember, once again, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So all I have to do is replace my slope with the m. So my slope is going to replace my m here. So let's start writing that new equation. Y equals, the slope that they gave us is negative 3/4. So you could write it right there, negative 3/4. X stays the same. And then this time my plus b is a negative 2. So negative trumps or takes over the plus sign. So you would just write this as negative 2. And there is your equation with that slope and that y-intercept. Awesome. Let's check out number 6. Alright, now this is a little bit harder. They have given us a graph of a line. It's this red line right here that I've drawn for you. And they ask us to write an equation based on the graph. Okay, so I'm just going to prep out my equation a little bit. I know that slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So really, all I need to find from this line is I need to know where it crosses the y-axis and what the slope of that line is, and I'm done. The b part, the y-intercept part, that's the easy part. That's where it crosses the y-axis. So if I zoom in on my graph, I can see that it crosses at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It crosses at 5 on the y-axis, or you can use the information 0, 5. This is the y-intercept. So I can just replace my b in my equation with 5. And it's a positive 5, right? Because it's on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going up. If it were down here, that would be a negative 5. Because it goes negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. It would be negative 5 if it were down there. All right, now let's just go ahead and find the slope. The slope is the rise over the run, the change in y over the change in x. So if I want to use the more formal way of doing it, I can use my slope formula, because I know 2 points. They give us 2 points, one here, one here. And I can use m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right. Well, let's go ahead and figure out what y2 and y1 are, x2 and x1 are. If I zoom in on this point right here, it doesn't really matter which ones you pick as long as you stay consistent. Let's have this be our x1, y1. 0, 5 is going to be x1 and y1, and then 3 and 4 would be x2, y2. Awesome. We know those 2 points. We can plug them into our formula. So y2 minus y1, so I would take 4, because that's my y2, and subtract away my 5, that's my y1. So let's do that here. 4 minus 5 divided by x2. x2 is 3, x1 is 0, so it would be 3 minus 0. Simple calculation. 4 minus 5 is actually a negative 1, and then 3 minus 0 is just 3, so your slope would be negative 1/3. And it makes sense, right, that the slope is negative, because check out the direction of this line. It points down. It points down when you go to the right, so it's got to be a negative sloped line. Positive sloped line goes up to the right, and negative goes down to the right. Okay, so let's take that slope information, negative 1/3. I know m equals negative 1/3. And I can just replace that in our m for the equation y equals mx plus b. Y equals negative 1/3 x plus 5. And there you go, if you want to write it all together, all in one color. Y equals negative 1/3 x plus 5. And that would be the equation this equation right here describes this line in red right there, or pink. All right, it's been fun. Good luck on the rest of the assignment, and see you in class.